I'd like to welcome you to our school board tonight. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you for joining us tonight. Do we have any translation needs? Okay. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda. But before I accept that motion, I need to make a motion to amend the agenda to replace the documentation for item C1-7 with an updated certificated personnel assignment. Do I have an approval? A motion?
I'll second the motion to update the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, we will do what our favorite part of the school board meeting, and we will move it to our recognition portion.
All right, I'm not going to stand up here very long because you guys are going to see a lot of me later, but I want to turn the time over. We had 2 teams at MMS that have done some awesome things just recently, going out and competing in a couple of different areas. So I'm going to invite Angela Davis and Devin Lewis to come up and share what our TSA teams and our Math is Cool teams have been able to do over the last little while.
All right, good evening. I'm Angela Davis. I'm the 7th grade math teacher at McFarland Middle School. Back in February, our Math is Cool team took first place at regionals. We also had 2 individuals place. Tommy was 2nd place and Jeremiah was 3rd place. Because they placed first at regionals, it gave them an invitation to the state competition at Moses Lake High School, where out of like 8 or 9 teams, they took 2nd place in their division, which is amazing. And Tommy, again, took 3rd place, and Jeremiah took 5th place in the individual. So I'm really proud of them. They worked really hard.
Congratulations.
Sorry, I guess I should have introduced all of them, too. Our team has 4 students, Jeremiah Teriyama, Thomas Giles, Amber Stutz, and Cedar Wilkins, who's playing baseball in Walla Walla for the 7th grade team right now. So.
So how much study time are you putting in for this contest?
Well, some of them studied every night, I'm being told. Oh, sorry. Some of them were studying every night, I was told, but we met once a week, whether it was in stat or after school. It just depended on how everybody's schedule was. And we worked on up to Algebra 2 level math for it.
How do you team practice for that?
What are you talking? You guys.
What? Wait, what was the question?
How do you team practice for that when you get together?
As Ms. Davis said, we usually came during stat or after school, but so that's usually when we did it. We didn't really go after school. Well, we didn't really come together out of school hours.
Outside, yeah. So, I would have them do practice tests. They have a bunch of different tests available online. So there's several different layers of competition. There's a mental math, there's individual test, there's the triple jump, there is team multiple choice, College Bowl. So the College Bowl I thought was the most interesting. They were given questions, and the 4 of them would get together and try to answer the questions against another team. So it was kind of like a game, like a game show type setting. So.
Can one of the students explain what the triple jump is? I don't know what that is.
You want to explain it?
Okay.
Yeah.
The triple jump is a series of 3, I don't know how to explain it, like questions. You have 10 questions. You have 5 minutes to answer each sheet, and your answers, you write them down on a different piece of paper after they're taken away from you every 5 minutes for 15 minutes. I don't really know how to explain this.
Okay, I'll try to explain better than Amber. So you're given a set of 10 questions to answer over a course of 15 minutes. You record your answers on the answer sheet. you have 3 answer sheets. Every 5 minutes, the proctors take away an answer sheet, so you can score up to 30 points.
Okay, I have some
Better, Tommy?
questions. How do you get onto this math team? Do you have to like test into it?
No, there wasn't many people who were interested this year, so
And you're all 7th graders?
yes.
So what math class are you in at school if you're all this smart?
We're all in algebra currently. I think we're all going to geometry, right? Yeah.
Wow. And you all have good grades?
Yes, I think we all have an A currently, right? Now.
Tommy, what do you have to add about the experience?
It was fun, and I'm glad I got to be a part of it.
I just want to say congratulations to you guys. Math for me is awesome. I love the fact that you guys love it. If you guys ever need a sponsor to go to something like this, you let me know.
Okay, so I will say that some of the elementary schools do have a math school team, and so I was approached by this group of students to say, hey, we want to keep doing it. We need a math coach. Would you do it for us? So
Wow.
that's how it
We'll
got to
see
be
you.
at MMS.
Thank you so much for that.
Congratulations, you guys. Good job.
I didn't do much. They did it all.
Hi, I'm Devin Lewis, and I'm our CTE teacher, or one of them, at McFarland. And I got the opportunity this year to take a group of 5 wonderful students, if they'll slowly make their way up here. They're terrified. I didn't tell them they were presenting tonight at all. And we got to go, this is our 3rd year at state, so I've presented here 3 times now, and they actually got 1st place this year in their on-demand video. And on-demand video is we get to state on Wednesday night, and at 9 o'clock at night-ish, they're given a prompt, and they have 36 hours to script, film, edit, and submit a video. And they got number 1.
Wow. Good job.
So they competed in a bunch of events. They competed in Tech Bowl, coding. You guys are going to have to help me out if I forget any. Problem solving, silent video, or silent film, and on-demand video. Didn't quite get any placements in any of the other ones, but they did fantastic in their on-demand.
Did you bring the video?
I could share it, Marissa, if you wanted to. I'll find it here while you guys ask the kids questions.
Ask about the video too. So if we're going to see it, then great.
I'm thinking about using them to record graduation.
So are you guys in a club or is this a class?
It's a club.
A club? Okay, so how often do you guys meet?
We typically tend to meet every single Monday after school for about an hour, and every now and again, getting closer to state, Ms. Lewis will plan work days for us where we can come in after school during different days like Wednesdays and Fridays, so we can have a little bit extra time to get all of our things done.
And what inspired you to join this club?
I decided to join this club because I thought it was like an amazing opportunity to get to state, and like I find such an interest in all the things that CSA does, and like there's like things you can do over there that you can't really do over here in McFarland.
Yeah, it's stuff that's extremely important and that will go towards our future careers because it teaches us a lot of very important life skills.
What classes are you taking that kind of fit in with this, or are you taking any classes that have anything to do with this?
Well, I like to draw and be creative, which is why I decided to join this club, because it helps my creativity roam free, and it helps with real-world problems and scenarios. These problems are things the world actually needs, which is why I decided to help and join this club.
Awesome. Most of them have taken at least one of my either computer science, STEAM Park design classes. So at some point, that's how they got involved.
And is the club just the 5 of you?
There were up to 15 kids at one point, on and off. And then in December, we kind of have to make a decision whether or not they're going to compete.
Yeah, there was there's like 2 different deadlines. There was the December one that Ms. Lewis set in place for us so that we had to make sure we had at least part of the work done for the January deadline, where we would then send in the stuff during the January deadline in order to see if we could compete or not in April for state.
And are any of you wanting to go into like the career that matches up with these activities?
Straight up, no.
No.
You don't have to.
What do you ask?
He asked
What career do you want to go into?
What career do we want to go in because of this?
Because of this?
Yeah. Or what does this help? Like, what life skills does this teach you?
This
for the
really
career you
teaches
want?
me coding. Yeah.
He's a phenomenal
I would
coder.
love to have seen the 36 hours before the video was made to see how they all work together. That would have been amazing.
They are phenomenal together.
And where was state? Tell me one more time.
Spokane.
Spokane? Okay.
We were gone a Wednesday through Saturday in the middle of
Wow.
right after spring break.
Nice.
Or how many clubs or how many teams participated?
There were 2,400 students from across
Wow.
the across Washington State. I think there's 144 different chapters, middle school and high school.
And you guys are all 7th and 8th, or?
7th and 8th next.
Maybe for the young men on the end, I know one of the things we try to do with these kinds of experiences, it's certainly interesting to hear what you were working on and the academic part of it, but also being in a different community and staying in a hotel and hanging out for 3 or 4 days. What parts of that experience were enjoyable for you?
I usually had problems making friends, so making friends really fast, going over the trip helped me a lot. And knowing, I usually just work with them like in a project, so I didn't really know them. But when I was like in the same like room in the hotel, I really got to know them more. So it was really fun.
Awesome.
It was so cool.
And fun fact, his brother was actually on our team the last 2 years and was one of the ones that got to go to Florida with us 2 years ago.
Wow.
So it's kind of fun seeing them.
So when you guys went to Florida, you made it to nationals. Because of your first placement at this, do you get to go to nationals again?
We don't. So the way that TSA works is they have some that are national events and some that are Washington-only events.
Okay.
On Demand is a Washington-only event. Unfortunately.
Well, congratulations. We're going to watch your film if that's okay.
Oh, well, hold on before you start it. The prompt was good versus evil, and they had to have a pen. What was it?
So our prompt was good versus evil. You had to include the line, "There's some good in the world, it's worth fighting for." You had to feature an ink pen, eyeglasses was the specific word that they used, and you also had to use a phone, like a cell phone. Did we use a cell phone again? We threw.
Dear son, there is some good in the world, and it's worth fighting for.
I know times have been rough, but I'm coming back from the Navy. I'll be waiting for you. Love, Dad.
Oh my gosh, I gotta call my dad.
Give me your phone.
No, my phone. I got you. I'll give you something. Thanks for my phone. I got you. Gosh, I gotta call my dad. Dad.
Give me your phone.
Dear son, there is some good in the world, and it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for.
That is Dad?
Nice. Good. So if you don't recognize him.
Was that his dad?
In the video, that was his dad, but if you don't know, that is Hector Aranzazu, who is our high school TSA advisor.
Oh, okay. No correlation. We just had to have someone.
There's one student we haven't heard from yet. Do you have any behind-the-scenes commentary on the video?
Nothing very much, but it was really fun exploring Spokane and what's it called? What? And recording the video. It was a lot of fun.
Were you going in for another elbow there?
Yeah.
Were you going in for another?
Well, well done, and congratulations on a first place finish. Good job, you guys.
You guys are great. Thank you guys for representing Othello.
Well, can we get a picture first with the math team, and then we'll do the second one with our video team?
I don't talk to
I don't care.
I forget how funny they are. Okay, we need a cardboard cutout. Like the body colors?
I'm here.
Just
Yeah, there you go.
Good job, guys.
Thank you again for coming, and congratulations to all of you. And thank you to our incredible teachers who donate and volunteer their time and spend countless hours helping these students be successful. Thank you, thank you. We're going to move on to our board member discussion, and we will start with our legislative report from Director Gerber.
I actually don't have anything this week for legislative report.
Okay, we're going to buzz right through. Does anyone have anything they need to add to board member discussion? Okay, seeing that we have none, I will at this time accept a motion to approve required approvals.
I'll make a motion to approve the required approvals.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I will accept a motion to approve accounts payable warrants 2.
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable warrants 2.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Now we'll turn it over to our Superintendent, Director Perez, for our superintendent informational items.
Yeah, opportunity this evening to hear about a couple of projects that have been in the works in the district. One of them specific to McFarland Middle School and Othello High School, and then one more broadly about K-12. Will Von Brock is going to lead. You want to start with the AI one? Husky Beginnings. Let's start with Husky Beginnings, and then we'll jump into the AI presentation as well. And as we set this up, I know the board has received some questions from community members about sort of a change in practice, and they're going to share the thinking behind it. And I'm excited to see that some of the middle school staff is here, apart from the administrators, to walk you through it. And I hope that you have questions for them, maybe things you're hearing from the community, so that we can continue to communicate the importance of the change.
Awesome. Well, my name is Simon Pedrinez. This is Kimberly, one of our awesome counselors, and obviously you know Will. Definitely Husky Beginnings started obviously with a vision of something different that Will brought to us, and really it was trying to be kind of with the spirit of what we just experienced, you know, seeing our kids with their growth, the tenacity they have to be able to bring their talents to the state level. But as I'm getting to know Othello and the community, it's really strong, and it's a community that really cares about each other, and really that's kind of the spirit of why we're bringing it back to the high school, as well as being able to be inclusive with our families and our community to be able to give access because it's towards the afternoon. So Kimberly, you want to give some highlights?
Sure.
So just some things that we want to really highlight in this celebration for our kids. We are going to recognize some of our students. We had our students nominate their peers, showing the Mustang way. So a student who shows responsibility, safety, and respect. And then based on that, they get to vote for the students who are recognized during the ceremony. And then we'll also hear from OHS speakers and McFarland speakers during the celebration, and every student's name will be called. They'll get a fun little candy bag, and our ASB high school president will give them a lanyard as like a, hey, you made it, you're coming to the high school, welcome to our side, I guess you could say. And then if you want to go to the next slide. Do you have it? Right there? Yes.
And so just to pull that together and add on a little bit is Simone talked about the evening move is to be more inclusive for our families and allow them to, we know there's never a perfect time, but to allow them to be there and participate. And then another piece that we really wanted to, we recognize at McFarland that we're like the middle child, right? Like we pull from our elementary schools, we're sending them to the high school. One of the things that really inspired is the success that the high schools had with this Husky Pack, and being able to say, hey, you're part of us, really bring them in, really nurture that 9th grade year that in the past has been such a difficult transition for so many of our students. And so this is just trying to get that even earlier, to say, hey, you're coming up to the high school, you're one of us, having our students, like Kimberly described, putting on the Husky medallion on them and saying, hey, you're here, it's official, you're a Husky. So bringing them in even earlier.
So if you look at the screen, this is kind of how it'll be set up. Something that we wanted to really highlight was the connection between, their time at McFarland and then going to OHS. So the yellow kind of half circles are arches, and one side will be decorated in McFarland colors and the other in OHS colors. And so they'll walk through the McFarland side as they enter, but they'll exit through the OHS side. So kind of highlighting that we're coming together, but we're passing the baton on, and you're now OHS student.
That's really neat. So are people going to be sitting in the grandstands and in the bleachers? Okay.
Yeah. And there's going to be some chairs as well. Yeah, and just kind of like what Will was saying with the Husky Pack, I mean, it's trying to reintroduce this tradition in a way, because I know it's happened historically with McFarland and the high school, but we're really trying to make this a memorable event. Obviously, this is also an invitation for y'all to be able to come celebrate with us, and we would hope we get 1 or 2 volunteers to be able to help us out and give some candy bags and shake some hands and celebrate during the celebration, and we'll be following up with any RSVPs after the meeting. But yeah.
Any questions? What's been the feedback from parents?
Yeah, we definitely got some feedback. It hasn't been overwhelming. I think I've met with one individual that said, hey, I got some concerns, I don't want to meet with you. Most of the other came kind of through students where they said, hey, my mom was frustrated or something. One of the pieces that we do acknowledge is it came kind of late in the year, some of the shifts. And so people were like, we already told everybody when it was going to be. We already had these things. And so we recognize that and have already got it shifted on the calendar for next year. And hey, this is when it's going to be. So that piece has been the biggest feedback. Full transparency, the other group that has given us the most feedback are 8th grade girls who were very worried that they weren't going to get to dress up as much as they were going to do. And so we've assured them, like, we still want this to feel like a formal event. Come dressed up, wear your dresses, come, and we're going to try to make it a really special occasion. I think that group in particular has seen others go through and have imagined themselves there. And so when they felt like we were moving the target on them, they weren't excited. So we've tried to assure them and kept them coming along with us and said, hey, we're going to make something special for you. So hopefully they like it. That's our benchmark. That's our bellwether right there. Hopefully they like it, and we'll get good feedback from them.
Well, as a parent of an 8th grade girl, her and her friends are excited. Okay. So I haven't heard any negative feedback on my end. Good.
It's good. If you want to go back to the image really quickly, I think there's some operational things that board members might get questions about. So For graduation, certainly we have increased security, ways to check people as they come in. We wouldn't expect the same level of crowd here, but we will have additional security on site. There's a lot more parking at the high school than there is at McFarland, so there's some things we can do there as well that make it a little bit better setup. And then for our maintenance guys, all that stuff gets moved over there for graduation the few days before, and so there's some operational efficiency that comes from this move, just from the logistical part. And I think they've done a good job of thinking through that. The other experience, I think most people on this board remember when we thought it might be a good idea to move graduation to the Toyota Center, and we tried to communicate early, and we tried to go through all those things. It speaks to the power of traditions, and they brought that up. There's certainly a tradition to promotion in Othello, and I believe what they have designed and the way that they're thinking about it is going to enhance that tradition. It's really going to feel better. We just got to get that first experience off and honor the things that have existed here for a number of years, but do them in a little bit better way.
Pete, the only thing or the only concern I had was, and I think we do provide it during graduation will we have anybody or can we have parking for like the handicap people around? That'd be my only thing, that there were they had some access there when they got to park close by the church.
We'll make sure that we mirror the communication that we do for those kinds of accessibility issues when we send out the information from the middle school. Yeah, we can take care of that for sure.
Where on the map do you want us? Just so that when we show up, we're not saying, where do we go? Where do we go?
Yeah, it's going to be right in front of the stage, so you'll be kind of facing the stage.
Are those chairs, like those little black and brown?
Yep.
Okay.
And since we have a new stage, it was also kind of thinking about even space on there, because we're just going to see kind of how even the practice goes of what might make sense also when we go through
I think what will happen this year with graduation is we'll have that experience with a larger stage and set it up in a way that flows well, and these guys can come watch rehearsal for graduation and graduation, the event itself, and decide what makes sense for them.
Okay.
We'll have a spot for you.
Am I correct? Is this happening Thursday evening? Wednesday. And do you think you're going to have students go to school Thursday and Friday?
Yes, you are not. I mean,
We're
going to plan fun days.
Those days, Thursday, Friday. Friday's a half day. Thursday's our field day.
Okay.
We really hope kids, and we will send out some messaging letting parents know, like, hey, they're not gone. This isn't like the seniors walk and they're gone. It's not. But I mean, we will have, and we always do have some students that are like, hey, we're done. I do want to acknowledge a couple of feedbacks, and we felt this too. It was not ideal even when we made the decision. We try to avoid Wednesday nights. Us making this change later. We weren't able to. Next year, it will be on a Tuesday. We were supposed to go to Thursday, but OHS does their field day that day, their Husky Olympics, their end of year type of stuff on the field. And they were like, we'll figure something else out. And we said, no, that's, again, honoring tradition. We didn't want to bump that for them. So we went to Wednesday. Next year, we plan on it being a Tuesday. But us telling students they have to be at school the rest of the week.
I think the give and take nature of that question is a really good example of, if we have it on the last day, we avoid that, right? That attitude not showing up. But then we run into, hey, it's my last day of elementary school and I'm going to the middle school, but mom and dad said I have to go to promotion, and so I don't get to have that final day with my classmates, right? There's all those little components that go into it, and I really do think for the system, it makes more sense. It's just starting those traditions over.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you all for putting that together and for your thoughtfulness around it, and we look forward to being there.
I guess just to help them out really quick, can we get an idea of who's going to be at 8th grade promotion?
I'll be there. I can be there.
I will be there. So I think all 5 of us will be there.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep.
All right. I appreciate that update around we're not calling it promotion anymore. Husky Beginnings.
Husky Beginnings.
Yeah,
Husky
thanks.
Beginnings.
Who coined that phrase? Who wants to take credit for it?
AI.
Simone
enter the next
episode. Kimberly gets it. It depends. Do you like it?
It was Simone. If
I
it
like
works
it.
well, it was Kimberly. Okay. All right. Well, transitioning here to a topic that we've been working on for pretty intensely this year, but it's certainly been our experience the last couple of years, and that's artificial intelligence and the impact on education in America. And we want to think about what's that impact mean for us locally. You all have passed a policy in the past couple of years that says, hey, we have access to it, and it's really up to the teacher teacher, you handle it. Now, what that has created is some frustration for students because there's inconsistency in how teachers use the tools. It's created some confusion for staff. Some teammates want to use it heavily, use it to grade, use it to design lessons. Others don't. They're not interested in using it. So we know there was a need to enhance that. It also came from a presentation that some of us attended at WASDA from the Quincy School District about how they were using AI effectively in their schools. And so Will has been leading a group of folks for the last couple of months thinking about AI, and they have an update for you that we're excited for you to hear and hope you have questions about.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of people from our committee here with us right now. Brisa Montejano is a world language teacher at the high school and AVID, right? Yes. Anything else? Missing? Okay. And then Scott Ritchie at Wahidas, who's a technology teacher. So they represent some groups that were on the committee, but we had, I think some weeks we had up to 15 people sitting there with us. We formed a committee, recommendations from principals, hey, reach out to these people and see if they want to be a part of it. We specifically wanted to get kind of a spectrum of how their feelings were about AI so that we were hearing all voices. So we got those names, and then we had people just show up because there's a lot of interest. We had people who told their friend they were on an AI committee, and they said, well, I'm coming with you. So it was really good, and we were able to get some really good voices. Is this on? Yeah. So this was what we started with, really a statement of our purpose and our mission and our hope to create human-centered procedures and classroom guidance for AI use in the Othello School District that enhances rather than replaces engagement, critical thinking, collaboration, and empathy. So I think these are really the fears when you hear people talk about AI, and some of the pitfalls that we have are that kids aren't going to think, kids aren't going to be engaged, and they're not going to collaborate because they've got this computer that's going to help, and they're going to be disconnected. And what we really wanted to focus on are those things that we think are pitfalls, and can AI be used to actually enhance those things in cool ways. So that's what we started with and said, hey, if we can't do this, then maybe we need to get this stuff out of here. But this is what we're hoping to be able to accomplish. So just to give a quick timeline, like Pete said, we started in February, and that was Pete and I introducing this project to district administrators and saying, hey, this is what we were trying to accomplish. And then saying, hey, get us some people who are the right people to be in the room and work through this. In March, we got together with that group for the first time in the beginning of March, and we said, hey, let's determine the scope of this meeting and have a focus area. In between the March 5th meeting and the end of March meeting, we got with some stakeholder groups. So specifically, we got some student groups from the middle school and the high school together and got feedback from them and asked them some questions and got input. And then Pete and I actually got together with some business leaders in the community, and were able to get some input and some feedback from them and have some really cool conversations. We got back together in March, reviewed that input, and got some consensus. The other group that we got input from was that committee itself. So we had kind of framed it and done some reading in that first meeting. Over the course of that, we put out some surveys to them to say, hey, where are you? What's your experience? What's your understanding? So really about 15 or so people that were really across K-12 in our system that were saying, hey, this is our experience and this is what we think about this. So from those three groups, we got together and said, hey, based on the feedback from these individuals, and we'll share you some snippets in a second on what we got from those people, we said, hey, this is the direction we're going to take. Then we talked through that, got their input, came back together and said, all right, with these focus areas, this is what we've heard from you, and tried to put some things together and refined and got feedback from that, and got prepared to present to you all today. So we want to share kind of where we're at and what our next steps are from there.
All right, so there, like Will said, there were three different kind of groups: the students, the staff, and the businesses. And as you can see, all together, there's some commonalities amongst these groups. So one of the things that was clear is that AI is here. We want to use it as a learning tool. We want to use it as a tool, but we don't want to replace. So we want to find ways that we can continue to use it, as well as integrate it into what we're already doing. They, all three groups agreed that clarity, we need to have some sort of way of making sure that we're consistent with whatever we choose to do. And then all three groups, there were risk and responsibilities. So how can we use this tool making it responsible or using it responsibly, knowing that there are some risks that are involved when we use AI.
Any questions on that input? I'll kind of try to pause for questions so you don't have to hold them all until the end. Okay, we'll circle back.
I think I have one comment. I wasn't part of the student interviews, but I don't recall you sharing that any students said, we don't want to use it, we don't want it to be part of our experience.
No, they didn't say that. What really surprised me from the students, surprised and impressed me, is that students were able to articulate really, really clearly that I could use this to do work for me, but that doesn't help me. So they were able to describe times when they said, yeah, I told it to write that essay or I told it to answer that question, and then I didn't learn anything. But when I missed class and I came in and said, I'm confused about this, could you help me? Could you tell me the steps to be able to do this process because I'm confused? Or could you put these definitions in like language that I might understand better? And now it helps me understand it. They were able to articulate these other things they were using it for to say, hey, my teacher said this. I don't really get it. Can you explain it? And then they were like, that helped me learn. And that makes a lot more sense than just having them do it for me. Like all these kids, and honestly, like the middle school kids, I just like grabbed a picture book and said, grab me this kid, this kid, this kid, this kid. It wasn't like I just grabbed like the top students or anything, but they were all able to articulate that really, really clearly. Hey, there's a place that's useful and helps me learn. If I do this, it doesn't help me at all. I'm not going to learn anything.
So students can already use it on their Chromebooks.
Yeah, right now I don't know if there's, Scott, can they access ChatGPT as a elementary student?
I honestly don't know because I don't play down that world with them. I do other things.
Yeah, I know middle school and high school can. It's at high school level we can watch it. At middle school and high school level we can see what they're doing and things like that. So you can use GoGuardian and be like, hey, this isn't a time for ChatGPT and pull them off. And we'll get to that a little bit later about providing clarity. Because when you see the clarity of expectations, that was another thing we heard from students. Sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to do and not supposed to do. I know my own son said, I don't know if it's cheating or not. I need them to tell me, like, did I go too far or not? So here's some things that help with that. Okay, Scott's going to tell us what the outcomes that came out of that from this feedback were.
Yeah, so after we had all that feedback, we met together again and kind of tried to build backwards, knowing this is what we want it to kind of look like. Some of the big pieces was knowing, even in our committee, we had people who were very much against AI use and people who were a little bit too excited about AI use. And having those dialogues back and forth, being able to say, we need guidelines, not hard and fast rules that can guide a teacher when they want to use it. Here's how we use it. If you don't want to use it, that's okay, but here's the other things. So that was really well established. And it also serves as a good jumping off point for professional development as people do start to dabble a little bit in it. ChatGPT is fine, but there's a lot more out there that can do a whole lot more, and really learning how to harness that and having those PDs available. And then we had a lot of fun conversations about what the age-appropriate placements. Like for me as a K-6 guy, I use AI all the time with the kids, but we're not creating images. I use it in kindergarten. We're using it in a little app called Snorkel, and the kids are reading sight words, and we're using AI to just simply determine, did they read the word correctly? And just give us a quick progress monitoring rather than pulling 4 or 5 pairs to pull kids out of a class and sit in the back of the room and do that. You can do a whole class all at once, and then it records their audio, and if you know a kid can read better than that, you can play back the audio and modify. So it's things like that the kids are using it. They may not get it. They might not know it. And then up at 4th grade, I'm able to give them conversation or like questions about coding concepts that we've used and have them explain it. And it gives them the feedback to lead them and guide them back. So finding what that age appropriateness is, where they're using it, but they're not maybe using the creative side, where you might get into more of the middle school and the high school type setups. Lots of different opportunities, and then looking at different platforms. I took a AI course from WEA this winter that opened my eyes to a whole bunch of different options. Snorkel was one of them. We talked a lot about another one that I shared with the 6th graders where you can use an AI chatbot to behave or pretend it's a certain person from history. So our middle or Wahidas was doing the Underground Railroad. And so I just was like, I'm curious. So I went in and I found Harriet Tubman. And so the chatbot behaves and answers all the questions like Harriet Tubman at a good 6th grade appropriate level. So when you really start getting into some of the folklore, it can get a little bit dicey on behaviors that were done to survive and things. And so I just pushed the border to see what's she going to tell me. And anytime I took it to anything kind of violent that route, it was very good about saying they were tough times, but we persevered, and kind of turning it back more to the positive. So it was really good at filtering and doing those things. And I thought, well, that's a great way to get the kids to interact with history as opposed to just read about it and be able to interview and things. So there's a lot of platforms that can be harnessed and used depending on the grade level and the what you want to do with it, really.
Okay, so this is our first shot. You guys saw the Quincy example. We looked at that as well at a team, and they really liked it. But we had some things we wanted to add and change from there. So this is our first shot at really getting some of those comprehensive things into one place. And we're going to jump into these portions broken down individually. But this is really the outcome that we're trying to get to as a district, is to be able to provide our educators with clarity and tools and resources that they can pull, and we can have some uniform language and some uniform procedures that teachers can communicate with students and with families on how AI is being used and what's the appropriate ways to do it. So we're going to jump into some components of these individually now. So Scott just talked a lot about this, but if he's got anything to add, Scott's going to share about the learning at every stage. What are the different age progressions?
Yeah, I don't know, my thoughts all go together, but this kind of is an example of what I was talking about before. At that younger age level, the kids can interact with AI, but not necessarily on that creative or them prompting it themselves, but using it as a tool for help, for guidance, for feedback. When I first started using this little app, Snorkel, I was really surprised. Gave them a question, sent them on their way, and every teacher will know there's always at least 1 or 2 kids every year that's just like excessively smart. They just kind of get it. They can teach themselves practically. And I watched one of those kids that I just gave it to him, and off she went. And it took her 3 times before she finally got a passing score. And it made me stop and look at it and go, that's a kid that I never would have gone and checked on. That's a kid I would have handed her a paper, filled it out, she would have turned it in, and we would have gotten to it eventually. It took her 3 times before she was able to articulate a way to get that high level 4 that she needed. And I thought, that to me was profound. We have assumptions about kids, even our high kids, that they get it. She would have caught up herself. So to me, like that K4 area, that's where it's used. It's used as that an individual feedback loop kind of a thing for those kids. Moving up into the 5-6, that Harriet Tubman example to me is fantastic. I loved that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And then again, just slowly progressing them into creating their own things and then using it as resource. In my ideal world, I honestly think of Tony Stark. It's Jarvis. Yeah. He doesn't use Jarvis to do all of his work, but he definitely uses it as a think partner, as someone to crunch the quick numbers when he's falling out of the sky or whatever it is. That's kind of where I see leading it and trying to get the kids to understand that's the goal.
Just something to add real quick, and Pete, you can jump into. When we met with the business and the community people, 2 of which were also parents, this was important to them. Similar to the students, none of them said, no, we don't need our kids to know anything about AI. They said AI is changing our industries and our kids better know about it and know how to use it well, and also know the limitations. You can't use AI to do your work and you not understand your work because you got to go talk to a client and you better be able to explain it. So they saw those things, but they, as parents especially, were saying, hey, but you better get the right ages. I don't want you getting my kids on here too early and not know these guidelines. So we were really careful with this and saying, hey, they're not prompting and using generative AI as K through 4 students. We might have products that use AI that help us to meet their needs better and give feedback quicker. But yeah, so I don't know if you have anything to add there, Pete.
One of the other interesting things that the business group shared, I know there's also some fear amongst folks that AI is going to take all these jobs away. And there are some jobs that are certainly going to go away. But what was interesting, what they shared, is how it's actually opening more doors for more individuals because AI, so these guys that are really good at math, right? Those are our top math kids in our school. There's probably another group in the middle who are really effective at some maybe more trade-based or technical kinds of work that aren't great at math. But if AI can do the math part and then they can go out and run the machinery and be really happy doing that, it opens more doors for them. So it was really fascinating to talk about how they were using AI in their businesses to be more efficient, but it wasn't taking away jobs, at least from these industries.
I have a really good example of how AI has helped at Johnson's Glass. We just went through this process of implementing an AI program into our phone system. So at the end of the day, you can pull a log to say, who did our receptionist talk to? What was their phone number? What was their need? What do we need to order? Just like this whole level of efficiency. So it's not taking her job, but it's definitely helping her to become more efficient at her job and letting us know, like, you need to order this and be proactive and stuff like that. So you can definitely use it in your business, not necessarily to replace people, but to make them more productive and help your business to grow. So I think it's super important.
Okay, so you've seen the stoplights before, but we want to share a little bit about where we landed on those stoplights.
All right, so in the high school, we have like teachers who are, it seems like they're either like, no, AI, and then these guys are like, all AI. So we wanted a model or something that would help both of those, and then help our students know when it's appropriate to use AI. So we, I think, got this from Quincy School District, and we saw it and we were like, oh yes, this is perfect. This is what we need. So the idea is that students will know what level of AI they can use for an assignment. So if I have a writing assignment where students can't use AI, they have to produce it all on their own, I would put up a red and say, this assignment does not have any AI use. I want this all to be your own work. And then maybe in the yellow, then I say, hey, you've gotten your first paragraph done. Now let's run it through an AI filter. This is a yellow where now you've completed your work. Now get some help, get some feedback on this. And then the green would be, okay, we want you to use AI to brainstorm some ideas or to put together a timeline for you. So it really is clear on when students can use it, when they can't use it, and as well as if they start to see this in my classroom and then in the next classroom, they start to understand, all right, I'm at yellow, this is what yellow means. And we're hoping that by doing this, it kind of clarifies some of that, am I cheating or am I not cheating?
So one of the next pieces with this is to create, we created this overall framework right here, is to actually create some images that we'll put in a shared drive for all teachers to be able to access. So that image looks the same across the district when we assign things. So a teacher's going to go in and say, oh, this is a green light assignment. I can go copy this image, put it on a slideshow. All my kids know. And they're going to see that green light and know what it means. They're going to see these yellow lights and know what it means. One thing that's really important, if you look at this top piece, because we do have teachers that are, hey, all AI, no AI, the determination of the lights on an assignment are a team decision. So you do have to, it wouldn't be right for a student to say, I got 10th grade ELA with Mr. Perez, and I have 10th grade ELA with Mr. Von Brocht, and in Mr. Perez's class, I could use AI like this, and I don't get to touch it in Mr. Von Brocht's class. Like, that's a different experience, and that's a different task. It's not the same educational experience. So those teams do have to get together and wrestle with this and determine what the right place is. So that was an agreement we made. The last piece that we were really excited about when we had some research and heard this idea, and it goes back to those kids not knowing, you know, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? Is this AI disclosure piece. So creating an opportunity on any assignment for a student to say, this is the level of AI I used, right? To be transparent with that, but not put it, not try to hide it, not feel like they have to hide it. And that way, if a kid crosses a line, it's not them trying to cheat. It's them saying, hey, this is how I used it, and a teacher going and having a conversation with them and helping them navigate this tool and saying, hey, I really wanted to see your thinking there, not AI's thinking. We're going to redo it, right? Now, if a student doesn't disclose it and they used it and we find out about it, then that's academic dishonesty. That's cheating. That's a fight we've been fighting for hundreds of years of education, right? It looks different now, but we've seen it before, whether it's passing notes or doing those sorts of things. So that's something we're really excited about. We're going to ask students to disclose when they use AI. If they disclose it and we think they cross the line, we just have a conversation. We go back and we say, hey, you said you used it like this. I wanted you to do this differently, and let's try to redo that. So next steps. Like I said, stoplight and disclosure, we want to create those into usable artifacts, get those out to our teachers, and think about how they can use that. We're going to train and get with our building administrators and then create implementation plans that make sense for the different levels, saying, hey, what does this look like? How are we rolling this out? Do we need to bring somebody in to train? Do we have in-house people that are going to be able to help us with that? And then one that you might have noticed on our to-dos that you didn't hear very much about are the platforms. There's a lot of educational businesses and things like that selling different platforms that are perfect for schools and things like that. Right now, as we looked at it, cost effectiveness and also just the capability, there's so many platforms out there that are really capable and that are coming out. We felt comfortable leaving it at the level of openness that we have right now, but want to continue to research that and watch as we go. If other platforms that make more sense, or if we get word from legal and things like that we have privacy issues, then we'll address those as they come, and we're going to continue to monitor that. We think that's something that's never going to stop. We're going to have that ongoing. So questions, discussion, what thoughts do you guys have?
Quick question. So I understand the concern with students using it, like why we would worry about that. What is the concern with teachers using it too much?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, in what Pete was talking about that we're seeing in industry, we're facing that in education right now, too. It can do incredible things for the efficiency of our work. You guys heard us talk several years ago as elementary administrators about the work we were doing transitioning to targets, creating new question stems and things like that around all our readings. It was incredibly time intensive, and like Melissa Rocha and I and Jesse King at Hiawatha and then some of our teacher leaders spent like hours and hours and hours doing that, and we paid a lot of money for it. A year later, ChatGPT came out and was like, hey, we could have done that for you in like no time, right? Like, so there are those things. We know that the platform is not perfect. Like what it produces isn't perfect. So when we started using ChatGPT and it made our work really, really efficient, it also became really, really apparent to me that I was glad that I did that work and that I understood what I needed to produce at a high level, because when ChatGPT gave me the wrong answer, I was able to identify that and able to change that. So we have to find that balance between saying this can absolutely speed up your lesson planning. We shared with you guys from McFarland that we try to Wickerize our lessons and bring in the Avid stuff. Because I wanted to model that for our teachers and our PD, I would design a PD and I would lesson plan out, and then I would give that lesson plan to ChatGPT and say, Wickerize this. And it was so good. Like it gave me really good strategies. It knew what I was talking about from the Avid resources. It brought it in, and they were good teaching. And I was able to implement those and have a more engaging and a higher level PD because of that. If I was a brand new teacher just telling me to do that and I wasn't able to filter what was good and what's going to actually work and things like that, that could be problematic. If I just say, lesson plan these next 3 weeks for me, and I'm not able to look at that critically and do that. So I think that's really the key. Our industry is facing the exact same things that I think every industry is facing as they're trying to implement ChatGPT. Or AI overall into those things. So
I think one of the other concerns that has been expressed to me that I've come to I think that's it with AI. It's not so much that AI is going to replace people. The way that I heard it phrased, it's going to come between us, not replace us. And I think a real concern for teachers is an over-reliance on grading, particularly of student writing. That they don't have a strong understanding of what each kid is producing, and they rely so much on the software without auditing or digging deep or personalizing. I think there's a risk there for sure. The same is true for administrators. We have talked a lot for the last 3 or 4 years about feedback to teachers to help them think about or scale good work, or to, challenge less than stellar work, right? If administrators, and that's everyone as we communicate, we get to we over-rely on that, and we don't go past the first iteration, which is, help me write a letter to the board explaining this. but that's all I do. If there's not another iteration and another iteration, I think it's going to feel like a false communication. It's not going to be transparent. You already feel that when you're at some kind of awards. Here's a test for you. Next time you go to a graduation or a scholarship night, listen for the word unwavering. Listen for the word transparency. Like, there's a couple, 4 or 5 words that are just pervasive in ChatGPT. So I think that really is a fear. The other fear for us is that teachers are going to be, we have a couple folks who they don't want to use it at all. And right now, the way that the policy is written and the level of training we've provided, which isn't enough, that's probably what we should be doing. There's going to be some tension that's created between, hey, we're requiring you to do this in your class. And yeah, we get to say that because we want an equitable experience in this secondary course. So there's going to be some tensions there. I think on the other end, overwhelming opportunities for teachers to be more efficient, more thoughtful in their lesson design, to have a thought partner to help them produce some new experiences for kids that are really, really exciting.
Kind of going off of what Pete's saying, not only is the scaffolding built for the kids, but it's for the staff as well. We already have in Google Classroom that every high school teacher is using. There's a feature in there called Notebook LM, which is an AI-powered bot, essentially, that will only use the resources the teacher uploads into it. It doesn't go outside of that. So something as simple as that becomes a really powerful tool to just get someone who's kind of against it to dip their toe in it and say, you have complete control over what that can even provide the kids. And so they can upload their slideshows, their PDFs, I mean, anything you want. And then it becomes just a little tutor chatbot based off of those resources alone that we already have that we may not even know how to use it.
The only fear that I have is the exact same one that you had, is that you will get some teachers that want to try it, and there will be ones that are going to fight it the whole way. And it really ends up making it hard on some kids, because some kids really want to try it and some others. This group, I imagine, is going to keep meeting until they figure it out, right? I have one question, or I guess one, I'm not sure how you say it, but what I'd like is a year from now, when you guys come to meet and bring this back up to us and tell me what didn't work. We always hear of what works, or we're moving on to something new, but never tell us, hey, this part that we figured, or hey, the stoplights, we didn't add this in, and we did now, and that's why it's become better. We always hear like the next step, but we don't ever hear of what happened before that had to be changed to make it better. And I always believe that you always get to some type of adversity and have to change something to get better. You just don't, this is not really how it is. It's more of a this and this and this. I want to know what you guys found and what changed to go like this. That's all I ask. So in about 6 months to a year, I'm going to ask you the same question.
That was one of the big conclusions from our last meeting, was this can't be the last meeting, right? Was absolutely, we know there's kind of a pause, that we got to a place where we've got to go roll it out, and we've got to do exactly what you've said. We've got to roll it out, we've got to get it in front of administrators, we've got to go train, and we've got to get it rolling, and then come back and say what's working and what's not working. So absolutely.
Yeah, because this is going to be huge for us in the future, and so we can't just stop. If we've invested this much time into it, let's see it all the way through.
I do have a comment. Just something to keep in mind, maybe for the teachers that are so against it, is higher education is already using this. So, for example, my brother is a junior at Eastern Washington University to become a teacher, and they're already using a stoplight system. Like, hey, you can use AI, you can't. And is already kind of letting him use these tools to better himself to be a teacher. So I think it's just important for teachers to understand that this is already going to happen. So how can we do it effectively? Because if someone is not aware of what's happening, maybe when they get to the college level, they're not going to know how to actually use it and get themselves into situations where it's like, hey, this is actually cheating, this isn't cheating. And maybe it's going to put students at a disadvantage compared to other students that are in the same program, or blah, 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 blah. So kind of just letting people know that this is already happening at the college level and beyond. So.
And then you had the way you explained it as far as how you can use it for kids. That was great, because I would have had no idea the way you say you guys use it for the kinder through fourth.
Yeah.
That to me it helps you, it furthers the process. I would have never known that if you wouldn't have said it, so I appreciate that as well.
I'm curious any thoughts that you've had on the language learning part of it, how it can be used in language classes at the high school level.
So I'll be honest and say that I'm one of the ones that's more against. But I've come to find ways to try and integrate it. And I think this is why I was such a big advocate for the stoplight, because when you, let's say you travel to a Spanish-speaking country and you're having a conversation, you don't necessarily want to say, pause, let me Google Translate this and then show you what it says. So we're really trying to get the kids to understand that. And so many of our kids already come with Spanish skills. Now it's just a matter of figuring out which skills they need more support in. And usually it's the writing piece. And so we've tried to figure out ways like use your notes or use the buddy system or let's work together. But let's not necessarily go right to the Google Translate right away, so that they can see that with the tools that they have, they can actually write this one paragraph that they need to write. But there are some other ways outside of in the classroom that I think Google Translate is amazing.
I don't know if the high schools use it at all. I don't know what products are available, but Aaron and I have an over 100-day streak on Duolingo that has incorporated more and more, and I found it really useful, incorporated more and more the AI bots for conversation, right? You get to have a conversation, and what you say, it's going to respond, and you get to do a really natural, normal conversation with somebody that's actually an AI bot, and then you get feedback on your conversation afterwards. It's kind of interesting.
I know Brendan Holst over at Scrutiny, he likes to weedify everything just because we have so many second language learners. And he's using this same app and actually talking to the developers there to create activities and things that kind of simulate or emulate the WIDA that the kids will take, so that they can kind of practice those things and get feedback on how well they did, how well they didn't do. It never tells them exactly what they should change. Just like, hey, think about adding this. And then it lets them try it again. So I know he's been working on using AI in that form as well to just help kids who have to take another language test, another state test that they have to take until they pass it, to help them get that exposure and practice.
I do want to follow up on Director Pineda's question about sharing things that didn't work. And perhaps we could have been more explicit about it in this conversation, but I think this is an example of that, which is, a couple years ago, we give you a policy, we base it on what the state tells us to do, you guys approve it, and now we're done with AI. What didn't work in that case, we didn't give teachers much guidance. We didn't give them a lot of support. We didn't give them clarity. We didn't really go ask their opinion. We didn't talk to the kids. We never called in business people, right? So we got something that was on paper that by law we were compliant with, but it wasn't working. And so this group was to say, well, maybe we can do it a little better. And all these things might not work. There's certainly, if we don't get the training part right and help teachers understand in your PLC, this is how we're going to decide what's red, green, and yellow, it's going to be an issue. So I appreciate the reminder about that. And maybe for us, it's more about saying, yeah, we got this done, but it was very low level. Here's the next iteration. So good reminder for us.
I do hope that you really hone in on the stoplight method with all the teachers, so that it is across the board. I know that's the intention of standards-based grading, but that's not always the case, where everyone is grading the exact same. So hopefully when we roll out this to the teachers, it can be something where it's like this is actually what you're allowed to do, so it's not different from teacher to teacher.
With that question is the same thing you said, Pete. We learn from how we put that one out, and hopefully we do a lot better job on this one.
I don't know about the other departments, but I know for my department, our focus next year is common assessments, and we're going to go back, look at our scales, and then make sure all of our assessments align to that. So exactly what it says there is exactly what the kids are doing. And our goal is to implement the stoplight as well. So putting the stoplight in our assessments.
So when are you guys planning on rolling this out or introducing it or that?
Yeah, our most immediate next step is to get with the principals, and that's got to be determined. I know scope and sequencing is happening a lot in the next month, where teams are going to determine their assignments and things like that. It'd be nice to get something in front of teachers. It probably wouldn't be deep training, but something in their heads about, hey, as you do these, next year, as you come through and are actually implementing them and giving these assignments to kids, you're going to have to think about what level of that. So I think maybe a little bit of introduction in the spring, and then probably fall of next year, that before they start school, that they're going to get some more training. I don't know if you have anything to add, Pete.
I like that idea.
Well, thank you, and yes, we'll circle back as we have more to update.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Pete, do you want to just jump into the next one?
Yeah, we'll invite the Ludicaga team forward. I think it's, and we've had a chance to hear some recognition and then some of the committee work that's been going on, and it can be a busy time of year, but we're excited to have Ludicaga here tell their story a little bit about how things have gone this year and your site visit. And we hope you have some questions for the team that's here tonight.
Hey, good evening. How are you guys? Good. Good. Can we get our slide deck up? Thanks. Well, before we begin, I just want to say thanks for having us here. We got to meet a few weeks ago when you were here at our site visit. And then actually we got to see quite a few of you guys just last week with the staff appreciation and the barbecue. So not only thank you for the good food that was barbecued up, but then also just acknowledging the hard work that is happening throughout our whole district and really supporting staff throughout. So thank you for that. Today we are going to be talking about our dual language school, which is Ludicaga Elementary School. We're going to have a few of the slides that we went through with you guys here at our site visit, but then we're also going to go in a little bit deeper because we want to represent some of the work that you probably saw when we went into the classrooms and we were walking through the classrooms with the kids. Before we begin, I have our feedback team here with us this year, and let's do some quick intros. Obviously, I'm Mrs. Benjamin. I'm the principal at Ludicaga.
I'm Maribela. I'm the Dean of Students.
I'm Marcy Gonzalez, and I'm an instructional coach.
Rosalba Salmeron, instructional coach.
Paul Auersland, assistant principal.
All right, so I'll talk a little bit about what our current system looks like. K2, we have 4 teachers to a team at each grade level. The blue represents an English teacher and a Spanish teacher who partner up. And so the students will see each teacher every other day. So one day's English, one day's Spanish, and then they flip the next day. So it'll maintain our count of 50-50, and we can still plan in PLC and then still do vertical alignment with the rest of the grade teams. And then in our 3rd through 6th grade system, you'll see 3 different sections. So we have an English language arts teacher, a Spanish language arts teacher, and then a bilingual math and science teacher, and that depends usually on the trimester or a certain amount of time where that block of math and science is taught either in English or in Spanish, still trying to maintain that 50-50 model of fidelity to our program for Spanish and English.
And these are the tres pilares de educación del lenguaje dual, the 3 pillars of dual language education. This is what you would see in each of the schools for dual language. So it's bilingualismo y biletrado, alto logros académicos, competencia sociocultural, bilingualism and biliteracy, high academic achievement, and sociocultural competence. At Ludicaga, there is a system. So the next one shows how those 3 pillars are supported with our focuses. So the bilingualism, how do we get there? So focus instruction driven by data, the high academic achievement through feedback and instructional coherence, and then the cross-cultural competence is student culture and high student achievement. That would be the how, and then the why. Why is it important? For those pillars, how are they supported? So it's the for language acquisition is the instructional core, teacher, student, content, and how those relate so that the kids can actually acquire the language, the second language. On the next one, we have the foundation, the teacher clarity and success criterions. We have the reading comprehension. Those are the focuses to achieve one of our pillars, and then the interim assessments and data analysis, and then common routines and procedures. Those are the things that we have been working on throughout the years.
So it actually kind of got me thinking when you asked the question of what didn't work. Let's talk about that, because we don't want to just stand here and talk about what is working right now and what we are going to continue to do. We also do learn from our mistakes. One thing that you'll notice here, and this image is going to be one that we build in front of you guys and talk out loud with you. What didn't work is just focusing on this column off to the right with talking about the what. And for us in the educational world, that's content. So if we just sit here and talk about what kids are going to be learning, the curriculum, the content that's in front of them, is it grade level of rigor? That's not going to work. It's part of the puzzle. We do need to focus on the how. And if you look at the instructional core, it's those arrows in between the student connecting to the content and the student connecting to the teacher. That mixture of the what and the how is extremely important, and that's recognizing if we don't put those together and if we don't support our staff members throughout both of those learning processes, is not going to work. So Rosalba is absolutely really right. We started a few years ago with reading comprehension, and Will was talking about that with a big shift in elementaries moving into target work, as well as we'll talk a little bit later with our writing content. But the how really came about with those data analysis and common teaching techniques. One thing I want to dive in a little bit deeper with is not just teaching techniques because we have common language. It's actually high leverage techniques to really get different types of engagement with the kids to the content. So there's a little way that you can think about this. Obviously, here's a continuum. One way is to really get kids, we want them thinking at a high ratio, at a high level. We want to ask questions so that they are thinking at a very high level, so that they are retrieving information constantly in their head, and that they are doing a lot of hard thinking. Another way to get engagement is to actually have them participate. There are 4 different quadrants on here, and I'll go through actually all of them. So at a low think ratio, but high participation ratio, that's where everybody answers questions, but it's really at a low level. So I'll use an example. I'll ask you guys a question. I'm going to ask everybody a question. Did you like your visit here at Lutakaga? Don't actually answer. Thank you for participating though. But you can see how every single person would answer the question. You'd sit and wait your turn. But that's a pretty low question. That's a yes, I liked my visit, or no, I didn't like my visit, right? That's one way of engagement. Another way of engagement is, again, really low thinking and really low participation. This in our world is when you just hear crickets when you ask a question. So again, I'll do an example of nod your head if you guys liked our visit, right? Did you like the visit? Please, somebody answer me, right? Okay, all right, that's crickets. Again, very low thinking. Maybe a few kids who are just eager beavers are answering, but that's about it. The next way is to have a high think ratio. So again, really good questions, but low participation. The majority of the class is not participating. So for example, I just want to volunteer. Somebody volunteer. What did you think, or if you could summarize something you learned at Lutakaga? Again, a different type of question. You have to actually summarize and give examples, but only one of you is going to get called on because you're volunteering for that. But right here, this is where real learning happens, because you have high think questions and high engagement from every kid. And that happens in many different ways. I'll give you guys an example, because you're each sitting next to somebody right now. I'm going to ask you to turn and talk with your partner for just about 45 seconds. Between the two of you, come up with at least 1 to 2 takeaways of what you learned during your site visit. And when we're done with our 45 seconds, I'm going to call on one of you to answer, okay? Go. just kidding. But you can see how everybody's going to turn, how everybody's going to start talking. If I didn't have an actual thought in my head, I'm at least hearing and engaging, and I better be listening because I might get called on, or my team might get called on, right? So again, a deeper level of question and a lot of engagement for kids. So when we say, this is some of our common vocabulary that we have. We call them cold calls. I'm going to call on somebody. We have our turn-in talks. We have all hands. We have everybody write. So maybe you think first by just processing and writing it down, and then I'm going to ask you to show me with a whiteboard. Call and response. The whole class is responding chorally. Accountable talks. We're giving kids sentence stems to engage in conversation or engage with academic language. And then wait time. That asking a question, pausing for you to think, and then moving forward. Those are all things that really get people, not just kids, thinking, because what we think about is what actually sticks. That's where learning actually is derived from. So when we talk about the student engagement piece, that's really coming from our common teaching techniques, because it doesn't just happen in one classroom at Lutakaga, it happens system-wide. Because again, when I moved as a kid, from kindergarten to first grade, to second grade to third grade, those practices and engagement strategies continue, just at a different age appropriateness, and kids engage in the learning instead of just how to be a student. And again, what that was referencing was that connection between student and content. We're talking about how. And when we do that, we utilize our PLCs and our common collaboration time for that. Another thing that we've been doing at Lutakaga as I build this what and how is I'll go into the what first. We've been working on reading comprehension. We're really this year diving into our writing and math clarity. And in fact, you got to visit one of our math PLCs where we did some math calibration with each other. We did it in two ways. The first session was learning progressions. So we sat down as a K-6 unit and we discussed how we want to make our learning progressions, which is our domains of math. How do we want to make them visual and interactive with kids? Because when kids know at least 90% of where they're supposed to be going, they're more likely to achieve 100% of it. So you have to see your actions in steps. And I think Marcy's going to talk about an example here coming up. You also saw our math coherence work, where every single grade level stood in front of ourselves and we modeled what the learning standard was going to be that week. Not just saying this is our standard, but actually giving an exemplar and showing exactly what it looks like. And then we grappled with each other. We had some cognitive sparring saying, well, if that's happening in second grade, then I need to do something differently in first grade to get them ready. Or, hey, in third grade, you're doing this, but I'm a fifth grade teacher, and I need you to say it like this because it changes how it evolves when they get to me in fifth grade. So that was us doing our collaboration and calibration with each other. When we get into the how, though, again, we utilize our PLCs to do all of that work and our staff meetings, but we focus it around exemplars and pre-work. So when we talk about exemplars, we're not just doing lesson plans. We're actually saying, here is an example of what we want our kids, a problem that we're going to put in front of kids, and we're going to give us the best example of how kids need to show it and prove that they know how they're learning. And then we also pre-think of questions to get them engaged in thinking at a deep level. And then we also do aggressive monitoring, because again, it's not just about pre-work, it's about when you are live in front of kids, what do you do with them after the lesson? I think Paul.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit earlier here about how we really needed to dive into some common language, but also say, what are techniques that teachers need to be using? We know they're effective. We know they're what's best for kids, because our school and our team up here have looked in the mirror and said, hey, if our students aren't performing, there's only, the adults that work at Lutakaga that are responsible for that. And so what are we going to do better? And so we dove into some of those strategies. A huge one that actually is even listed in that previous slide is aggressive monitoring. And I could go through and explain each one of these steps, but I think the easiest way to describe it is, if I just took 15 minutes of a class period to teach my students how to do something, if I just cut them loose and then at the end of the class period or maybe end of the week decided to give them a test to figure out if they know how to do it or not, that's a lot of wasted time. If I just taught you guys how to do something in the last 10 to 15 minutes of class, and then I gave you that task, and then I went around the room, and I actually physically checked off whether or not you could do what I had just taught you to do, and if you weren't able to do, where you were getting stuck, now I know a lot about each one of my students and what they need to be able to move on to that next step. And so really going through with our staff and saying, hey, this is a high yield strategy. This isn't waiting until the end of the week to figure out that a kid was stuck here and couldn't move on because we learned it on our assessment. It's good teaching practice right now. Go around the room, figure out which students still need that extra support and which ones got it. So that way we're not losing that really valuable instructional time, because we have students who can't afford to lose that valuable instruction time. And as part of a free and appropriate public education, it's our job to make sure that we're getting the absolute maximum that we can out of that time for students for their sake. And so that's part of about what aggressive monitoring, and that's an example of how you do aggressive monitoring. These are the steps about how to do it well, but the gist of it is we as educators don't need to wait around and give our kids a test at the end of the week to figure out whether or not they have what we just taught. We can go and physically see their papers, see the work that they're doing, and if we plan well and do a good job, then that task is actually a really easy one to do.
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question of the board about what Paul just described as it relates to aggressive monitoring in the last presentation. Based on how he described it and what's up there, do you think a machine can aggressively monitor how students are doing in a classroom? Or would it have to be an adult the way he described it?
I think that was a part of being efficient, is that you could get that program to help identify if the kid is stuck or not.
You could so the one that Mr. Ritchie described about, I'm reading into a monitor and it's listening to how I'm speaking and giving me feedback, right? But if he gave us 4 math problems and we all got them because we were trying out for Math is Cool, and he was going to walk around because he just showed us how to do one on the board, only a human could do that, right?
Yeah.
That's aggressively monitoring whether or not kids are getting what we're asking them to get. The cool part about AI that we hope teachers don't run away from is he could take his notes and then he could go speak them into his computer and say, hey, I was aggressively monitoring my class of 25 and 17 of the kids really struggled with this concept. Can you give me 3 examples for tomorrow's entry task that would help them exercise that skill? And now he doesn't have to come up with them. Now he can put them out. He has a way to monitor it. So there are ways those tools can be used and enhanced that we need to teach teachers about. But the teacher cannot be replaced. The teacher will not be replaced by the computer for these very basic skills that are so important.
No, because it shows accountability to the kids.
Yeah.
And if you also think, so you're absolutely right in the efficiency aspect of it, is maybe I have my notes and I'm going to dump it into AI after school is out to get ready for my what to do with the data, which is maybe my reteach plan or my entry task for tomorrow. But there's also that efficiency piece that only a human can do, because one of the first steps before we get to tomorrow's lesson is to really see if maybe 50% of my class doesn't have it right here and now. Well, the forgetful curve tells us scientifically that we do not want to wait 1 more hour, because they're just going to keep remembering the mistakes instead of remembering the learning. So we're going to do a stop and model right now, or we're going to do a think aloud right now because of that data. And that wouldn't be capable unless if we have those human eyes on it. 2 of the things that were, and you guys jump in, but 2 of the things that were big takeaways when our staff really dove into aggressive monitoring was the statement right here: never mistake activity for achievement. So just because kids are busy at work doesn't mean that they're busy learning and retaining. And then the second thing that was a big one was that immediate feedback. Let's say that we are doing those math examples like Pete was talking about, and I recognize that Aaron has a mistake. I'm going to tell him, fix X, Y, and Z. I'm going to come back to you in about 3 minutes. So there's a fix, feedback, and then follow up immediately. Because again, we don't want to wait 1 hour for Aaron to continue to make the same mistake, because that's what he will remember to make every time. All right. It is me. So with that, with our aggressive monitoring right here, I talked about that's part of the how, but the what takes us back into what we've been doing over the last few months at Luticaga, which is learning progressions. And again, you guys got to see a little bit of that with our math learning progressions. We've also been doing it with writing as well. So.
Okay, so just to kind of bring it all together, learning progressions could maybe sound like you're doing some lesson planning, but it's really a lot more than that. So what you've just heard about is we've done work in PLC to make those learning progressions available and interactive, and tied that to our explicit instruction, just one step of, for example, I'm going to show you an example of a writing cycle. So in writing, there's several steps to that writing process, but we're going to break those down to just one step at a time so that we can aggressively monitor. And then that's all happening right now. So we're tight on this year, those first 3 steps, and next year that's going to lead us into student tracking and goal setting. So we're trying some things on with that this year that I'll share as well. But I want to just, we've had that conversation about AI. If we could go back to the previous slide right here, and Rosalba spoke about that task predicting performance. So on the very top of our house, right? And you can't, so when you're aggressively monitoring and you are interacting with kids and giving them feedback during that time, you're building relationships with them. So that one-on-one feedback isn't just, do they have it right or wrong and what do they need to learn? You're actually interacting and building strong relationships with kids so that the student engagement and teacher knowledge, you're credible in front of students in a classroom. So I just kind of wanted to bring that back with that AI conversation as well.
I love that you're talking about that, because when we talked to each other in the library, we also talked about effect size and some of the high levers that we can pull, knowing that it's going to produce high levels of effects for student learning. One of them is if kids actually think that my teacher is credible, right? And we gain credibility with our students by making those connections with kids instantly in the classrooms in the moment. So thanks for sharing that.
Okay, so if we'll jump ahead to, this is a 6th grade Spanish writing interactive map, if you would, for student progress in the writing cycle. And so what you're going to see, can I just walk up? I'm just going to walk up. So it's just related to Super Mario Brothers, and our 6th grade teacher, Mr. Daniel, he kind of put together the map, and then this is the progression. So right here, they're actually researching what they would be using for facts to write. And the way he's created that is that students know, okay, this is the goal right now. This is the step in the writing cycle we're working on that you need to be successful with. And then if you see the little flags over here, these are broken up actually by classes, because if you remember what Mari shared, Mr. Daniel in 6th grade sees 3 sections of Spanish writing throughout the day, every day. So this is each homeroom's flag, so that he can show the kids, this is where we're at the onset of a lesson or lesson sequence. And here's what how many of you play Mario Brothers? Yes, I love it too. So once they get up to here, and then they jump, and I don't remember the song, but I do remember the song. And then they, pass the level. But I think another iteration of this, because remember, these are what we're just trying on for next year, would be that these flags could actually represent individual students. And then those flags, you might have a flag, oh, I'm here in this goal, or I'm here in this goal, and those flags could be seen throughout the whole entire map.
Can we get that song again one more time? Okay. One thing that I really liked about that example is what we referenced a little bit earlier. When we talk about learning progressions, it's not just telling kids what we're going to learn today. It's also making the connections of what we learned yesterday or last month or last year when you were in 3rd grade and where it's supposed to take us in the long run. So making it visible, making it interactive with kids really does produce buy-in, as well as it really connects different pathways in their brain for memory. Going back here, I just want to share that we've added our next year's goals and some of our focus, which is student goal setting. We've did this image very specifically because, again, we have the what and the how, and we have to have a strong foundation and base, because as soon as we get our learning progressions and aggressive monitoring down pat, then we can get students involved in goal setting, which inevitably will lead to student agency, which is just another word for ownership. Them believing that they can do it and that they have autonomy over what they're learning. And then once we build that house, it just becomes becomes a cyclical cycle, bouncing back and forth where small tweaks are made based off of individual students, individual class sizes, or classes, or just different curriculum changes in general. So we are really excited about the foundation that we've been building, and we can't wait to see where we go next with goal setting. Part of that, though, does involve the students. So when we talk about that whole picture of student agency, there's a factor here that is truly about just student culture in general. So I'm going to pass it to Paul and Monty.
Yeah, so before you can really talk about student culture in a school, you got to make sure that your staff is in a good spot with the culture and what we believe, and get on the same page and have a belief about our efficacy, right? A belief that all the kids in our school can learn, and that if we do our jobs correctly and well, they will. And so that's what one of the things that we really worked on through all this work is that staff culture around expectations, showing up to work, doing our best every day, and really making sure that we understand that the work we do matters a lot for students, and it's not something that we can take lightly, and really developing that culture of excellence among our staff, right? We're going to go in there. We are going to collaborate. Collaboration is something that's huge, and it isn't negotiable. Together, we are better than any one of us are alone, and really dig into that and say, and we have to do this because if we want to change student behaviors, if we want to change student outcomes, if we want to do better than what we're doing right now, we have to really believe in that work that we're doing as a staff. And so that's something that when we say Somos Leones, or we are Lions, right? I mean, we're proud of our mascot, right? We believe the Lions are the best mascot in the OSD, but that's not why we're saying it. We're saying it because it's that affirmation to each other. That's our promise to each other to say, when we show up for kids and we do our jobs well. And so that's something that we've been working really hard, is making sure that as a staff, we actually believe that and mean that, and are holding each other accountable. So if I show up to work tomorrow and Christina sees that I'm not focused and I'm not doing my best for kids, that we have a culture where we can kind of call each other out and say, hey, you know what? I know it's tough, but right now we got to dig in and we got to do this for the kids, because that's what matters most. And now that we've done some of that work, we can start talking about that student agency piece, and then what's it mean to actually have an impact on our student culture in our school around high achievement. And so I'll let Madi talk about some of the work that we've started with that, and then also where we're going with our student agency.
So something that Marcy said earlier was, and it has to do with aggressive feedback, was we aggressively monitored in order to give feedback on student individual work, right? So you're building a relationship and you're building rapport, but you're also building expectations of what we expect of them and what they expect from us, so that we have our teacher credibility, right? So it's all become a part of our culture of what it is to be a Lion. So we say a daily affirmation every single day, and it's about the Lion mentality. So Somos Leones, we are Lions. We come to school ready to learn. We are Lion, or Somos Leones, we are Lions. We work hard and don't give up. Somos Leones, we are Lions. We are kind, respectful, and helpful to all. Somos Leones, we are Lions. Somos orgullosamente bilingües. So it's always building language, but building it through relationships and academically, socially, all of it, the perseverance. And what's been really neat to see is kids who are going through some adversity, whether it be with health or with family things. I've been able to witness students write notes to each other or little videos that we send off to the family saying, so-and-so, I hope you're doing okay. Remember, you're a Lion. You can do hard things, because it's a part of our chant. It's a part of the affirmation, right? We have pride paws that are pulled every week, and one of the questions asked after they get picked, right? They come down, they get their little deal, and I say, just 4 questions. And the last question is, why do you have the heart of a Lion? And they're beginning to pick up the affirmation, I work hard every day. Or I'm nice to people, that's why I have the heart of a lion. Those kinds of things, so it's becoming a part of the culture and a part of the expectation. Sorry.
And one thing with our student culture before we leave it, it's really important that students believe that they actually have some control over their outcomes, right? In school, a lot of times students might feel like school is being done to them. We don't want our students to feel like school is being done to them. We want our students to feel like they're in the driver's seat, like they have that control. And that's why that student agency is at the very top. And so setting some of that cultural piece is really important. But now it's time to also say, okay, what does it look like for the students to really hold themselves to a high level, to really expect a lot out of themselves to achieve at that? And that's not something that kids just naturally do. It's a learned trait. It's something that you need to be taught, and it's our job to help students learn that. And so that's that student agency piece that's really important, and that's why getting the kids to believe in themselves first and foremost is that important first step to then say, hey, and guess what? You're in the driver's seat of your education here. It's not being done to you. We're doing this together.
I keep thinking as I'm listening to our team talk right now of that most everything we're saying is rooted in research and best practices. And so this is the stuff that all schools, no matter if you're in elementary, middle school, or high school, is chasing for their kids and for their community. What I want to reference right now as we move on to the next slide is what's coming up next, because what we're talking about and what we've built and what we are going to continue to grow doesn't happen by chance. It does happen with intentionality. It does happen with extreme focuses and a lot of support and resources to back it up for the doers doing the work. So we are blessed to have a lot of opportunity this summer to really dive in deep with our staff members with some professional development. And we have 5 days that are going to be coming up for our staff that's going to be optional. And we've had about 98 to 99% participation over the last few years with all of our staff members for these optional PD days. And it really does show with the collective efforts that we do every single day in the school. This upcoming year, we talked about it a little bit with our high student achievement. We're really going to dive into student agency and goal setting. We're going to do a lot of PD around writing and math and using our learning progressions to get kids actively tracking, understanding their goals, what they need to do next to achieve them, where they're at in their learning process, and how to communicate that with their parents, how to communicate it with the people around them who are also their advocates for and stakeholders for themselves. We're also going to have an entire day around that gradual release. We term it I do, we do, you do. When I went to school, it was a lot of sit and get from the teacher, where there was a teacher modeling a big portion of the lesson of the I do, and then I practiced it just a little bit. We know that that's not done, that's not how you create learners. We have to do short little bursts of a teacher explicitly modeling, us collaboratively practicing and trying it on, and then me doing it by myself and getting immediate feedback from the teacher, and then in that same lesson doing that all over again, because that's what's going to make the learning stick. So we're going to spend a lot of time doing that work and using our exemplar planning to help guide us. We're also going to dive into driven by data in a very unique lens by adding responsive teaching to it, because again, I know where my students want to go with their goal setting. I know how to do explicit learning and teaching for it. Now I know how to instantly respond to my teaching when the kids are telling me what they've learned or what they need to know next and do next. We also have been doing a lot of our work around our common teaching techniques, the things that I was modeling earlier with the high think ratio, high participation ratio. So we have some presenters from Teach Like a Champion, which is a book that we've been using as a book study. They're going to come help us for an entire day and help add on to our repertoire of teaching techniques. And then we have a lot of team time on Friday to really get our teams into the classrooms, not to just talk about it and do the motion, but to actually build the action before kids come in front of us. Anything you guys would like to add? Oh, Marcy, one more slide. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. As I was thinking about this, what you're looking at is our statewide assessment data for ELA and math, and then the ELL and the greater than 30%. Those are just, and the low income too. Those are just broad filters for filtering out other schools. They kind of kick out the west side schools, like Bellevue School District, things like that. So as you look at that with the dual two-way elementary school in 2022-23 all the way through 2025. We were ranked 16 out of 21, and then 15 out of 21, and 9 out of 24, out of 24 and 24. And that number just changes as schools. There's always opening and closing schools throughout the year, so that's pretty normal. But just to see our growth there as a dual two-way school, and then all elementary schools, if you want to click on that, is 97 out of 124 to 121 to 67 out of 152. And I mean, those are numbers, but as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about what we've done. I know I came to Lutakaga in 2007. I've spent the majority of my years as a teacher at Lutakaga, and all those years have been dual language program of some sort. I wasn't always in the dual program because we started with just a track, but I've always believed that we're doing really hard work. I've always believed that we're asking a lot of our students, but we need to know if that's working, and we need to know if we're improving. And so this is just a really great look at growth, and it's also showing us that we're not there. You know, our goal is to total world domination, and so we are still working to improve our program and improve our practice, but we've got a lot of growth out of what we've tried to do, and I'm just excited for the years to come. So.
Questions, thoughts?
I do have a couple questions. Those optional days you mentioned, so those are Lutakaga specific? That's not a district thing?
Yeah, so we are blessed with getting 4 professional development days. All schools get those to use that, what we deem as necessary for our own focuses. So we have 4 that we're going to use at Lutakaga, and those are the specific ones for us. We've added on 2 additional ones that we just fund from different funding sources.
And so that would be planned and or run by this group, by this team?
Yep.
Okay.
You just don't know it yet.
And then can you go back to the pillar diagram? Yeah. Why are there oranges, grapefruits? What are these?
Who wants to take the slices?
Not me.
Those are the standards for math. So there is like the computation for the math, and then the pieces are the slices of the oranges are the standards into the pieces. So
I will add on.
Okay,
to that.
go ahead.
No, just that I didn't want to say it because I always get it mixed up. I never connect well, but we were doing interviews, and one of the candidates did mention it's like the oranges. She totally recalled. So it's just a really great visual for the work. Sorry.
And it's a visual that was presented to us, or given to us by a presenter named Luis Cruz, and he came in and did some work that really resonated with our teachers about how we kind of breathe some life into our collaboration, and the oranges were one of his examples that really stuck with people, so we said, well, let's talk about oranges.
Yeah, it's truly, when you think about that whole orange, and it's just funny, we had oranges sitting at one of the tables one day as well, just by random. Again, Dr. Cruz was talking about how we're going to utilize PLCs, how we're going to collaborate differently, and also knowing that some of the stages that we're going to go into as a dual language program model is going to be adjusted for the work that we're doing. And we have a whole orange of what we want our kids to learn, let's say is math. Now you take that orange and peel it or cut it open. Now those are domains. And then each individual slice is a standard. So we're going to feed one slice to a kid at a time, but overall that orange becomes, or one slice becomes an entire orange that they're eating. And it's really based around that teacher clarity work, that everything is rooted in our lesson planning. We can't just say, I'm planning for math. Well, what specifically are you planning for? Because we need to know how we're going to aggressively monitor to kids to give them feedback so that they can be a part of their learning, to have student agency to build it on into the next school year. That was a good question.
I have a question just back when we did walkthroughs. Something that was weighing on me, and maybe you can just clarify. In each classroom, right, when you talk about the progression, a lot of times the classrooms had some sort of bulletin board kind of showing where the student was, how they were progressing, right, with their names on it. Those students that aren't progressing very well, and it's shown in the entire classroom, is there any concern about how those students may feel about that being so visible?
Yeah, at this point, what you were probably seeing, because I don't have an example right here, but there was
it was the fish, the water, and I felt like the ones at the bottom were drowning. That's how I took it. That's how I mean, if I were a student, that's how I would be thinking. I'm drowning, and I'm not gonna. I'm done. So I was wondering if there was any concern about that, because then all the rest of the students didn't see that.
Well, part of it is also about growth. So it's not just always meeting benchmark, which naturally as educators, we're going to be here and saying we want kids at grade level all the time, right? But we also know, and I'll just use Paul as my student example, we also know what Paul does in 2 months' time is different from what Rosalba is going to be doing in 2 months' time, and that deserves to be celebrated as well. And so we do have that little visible tracking, but kids know where they started, kids know where their goals are and their progression along the way, and those are celebrated. I think one thing that you didn't get to see in a 5-minute clip walking through classrooms is the environment or the community that is evolving around kids making growth and making achievements. Achievements does not always mean at top tier grade level or above. It does mean that it's clicking in my brain, I'm making moves. And also, if you think about us doing it in a bilingual sense, I have it over here in Spanish, and now I'm just going to be transferring it over in English because it's the skill, but I'm using the language as my modality. So those little things we didn't get to see and capture, but it really is a part of the environment that's being created. I won't lie, though, it is being created still.
Yeah, and that's to kind of go to what Isara mentioned earlier, where it's like, hey, there might be some things about that aren't working. And like I said earlier, we don't want students to feel like this is being done to them. And so the more we can get students involved in tracking that work themselves, we do have like one team, and I wish we could have seen it, where they do have all the students up there. The students know every row as a kid, but there aren't the names, right? And then they are seeing those arrows moving, right? And they are seeing how much progress. And then there is a goal for the class, and then they're celebrating it and getting really invested in like, oh, come on, guys, we all need to do good, right? Like building that culture of excellence. And so like, hey, this is important. We care about how we do, and we're kind of collectively in this because we all have a collective goal also. And so as we pursue that student agency, when you do find those things that work really well, you say, oh, sweet, this thing's working really well. Let's run with that, because that's the thing that that seems to be the thing that works the best for our students right now. And so we are early in that process, and when we see those things that work well, we'll glean onto them. And when we see some things that maybe don't work well, or we're finding that for some students it's not making them feel like they do have that ownership, then we can toss those things out. Because at the end of the day, like we said, Ludicog exists for students. It doesn't exist for us to feel good about ourselves. So.
I do want to add something to that, because you were in the English, that was an English classroom. And so, but if those kids are like Christina mentioned, that dual language piece, right? So those kids that may be low in the English, you would see them higher in Spanish. So, and then there's also setting goals for themselves. So if I'm reading 50 words, I'm not at grade level yet, but you know, your growth and your goal is 10 more words the next time. So they have that in the mindset, but you know, that their names are in a different place in the Spanish or the English, vice versa.
For the context, that helps a lot.
I had a question. Beat the bush, I always do it. Are we doing a slow start for kinder this year?
No, we are not. All kindergarten is going to be starting on the Tuesday after the official school day, or school start.
What was the reasoning behind that one? For all elementaries, or just in yours in general?
Actually, it was an all elementary decision, and it was based off of feedback from teachers and parents. Teachers primarily saying that the 2-week soft start or strong start did not actually produce the intended results, which was to get them softly introduced in small groups, because they just had to reteach it over and over again because of the duration that they didn't see the students. And then also some of the parents were telling our district that there was just a lot of confusion with when they sent their kids, when they didn't, and we just had a lot of transportation mishaps, and so parents dropping them off but then having to go pick them up. There was just a lot of just discombobulation around it, so we went back to, as a district, a 1 start time.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having us. You guys are always amazing hosts, so thank you so much for all of the information you gave us while we were there. And then again today, thank you so much. You guys are quite a team. So thank you. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay, we will move on to upcoming events. May 12th, which is tomorrow, we have our Future Ready Schools team meeting here at 6 p.m. May 18th is our site visit to Wajitas. May 26th is our school board meeting at noon. June 5th is graduation. June 9th is Ludokaga Dual Night. What was that? Graduation is at 8 p.m. on June 5th. And June 10th is Husky Beginnings at 8 p.m. as well. Okay. High school graduation is at 8 p.m. Husky Beginnings is at 7 p.m. Got it. Okay, now we'll move on to the board self-assessment of the meeting.
Really good presentations tonight.
Mm-hmm. I thought the AI one was very informational for the school district.
I missed our girls tonight.
Mm-hmm. Really appreciated the student recognition that we got to hear from 2 clubs tonight from our middle school. That was outstanding.
Informational, I think. I can't remember. It's already gone.
A great presentation by Ludokaga. Appreciate them hosting us for our site visit and then such a thorough presentation. Does anyone have anything else? Okay. At this time, the board will recess into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee. No action will be taken following the executive session. This meeting is adjourned.